Hello, welcome to Yates Makes. I'm back with another video on masking tape printmaking. So today's video, I'm going to look at a couple of techniques that I use that I haven't put in previous videos, covering layering and how to achieve different textures, and then a little bit of extra on the end as to why, again, I find this technique so versatile. Alright, let's get started. Right, I've chosen to draw a fish, a perch, for my example. It offers loads of detail, textural variety. The drawing I'm working from, incidentally, is actually one my father did, one of my most treasured possessions, probably 50 years ago. You'll see how I'm simplifying details, shapes, line work from my dad's original drawing, because that is what I'm going to need to work with. These sorts of thickness of line, bolder shapes are going to work well, lend themselves better to this masking tape printmaking technique. So nearly done now. Here, quick shot of my plate kind of half done. Just to remind you, you're going to need an acetate or OHP sheet, some thin polypropylene plastic to lay over your drawing to build your masking tape print upon. So starting with the fins, a bold shape, base shape first in a single layer of masking tape. Now here's my first technique that I've not covered before. So double thickness tape, and for the kind of spines that run through that tail fin, I'm layering up double thickness tape on top of my single layer base. Both that base shape plus the kind of relief details, the spines on top, will be picked up by the roller. Depending on how hard you press, how much ink you add, you can control that part of the process, as we'll see later. So this is kind of an experiment. This is an extra little layer of hopefully tone and texture that will sit underneath the spines that I put on top as my last layer. So this is all about experimenting and layering to see how these areas will react as you ink up. The best thing about this technique is if you're not happy, you can peel off, you can cut back, you can modify, which I think is a real distinct advantage over other types of relief printmaking. So essentially this is a collage technique, but it kind of doesn't feel that way. Kind of feels like a halfway house, if you like. So this is a bit of revision, I guess. This is well covered in previous videos linked above. Now, cutting finer shapes and details, lay a single layer over the top, trace your shape, unpeel it, double up. Important to double up for these details, then you can cut them out precisely and layer them on as I'm doing here. Okay, so a few details on the mouth there. You'll see you can cut some really quite fine shapes if you've got a decent craft knife or scalpel. Okay, doing the lateral line that runs along the side of the fish there, and scale pattern, I kind of ummed and ahed about this. In the end, just went for some little kind of crescent moon shapes and thought I'd see how that would go. There'd be many ways you could layer up though to achieve this. I just didn't want it to get too dense and dark in tone, so I thought I'd go with this first. Again, great benefit. If I didn't like it, I could just scrape all these scale pattern off and try another one. Something you can't do with lino, woodcut, etc. Even some traditional forms of collage where you really stick stuff down, you're kind of committed to it. Alright, so there we go, ready to print. Now my second example, I just wanted to throw this one in because ripping your shapes gives you a completely different type of texture. So I've chosen a kind of fantail type fish, and you'll see me here, again starting with base shapes, but then instead of cutting with the scalpel, ripping some of my details to get that more kind of flowy, kind of feathery textures. And you'll see when I print in a minute how that comes out and how it could offer you loads of scope for exploring texture and kind of variety in texture and detail on your prints. Okay, again, base shape down and then ripping shapes to go on top that will give a bit more tone and a bit of movement through those shapes. Right, last couple of touches, again back to other techniques where I've traced those finer details, unpeeled them, cut them out, and there's my plate ready to go. I'm going to cut the plate out now around the outline of the fish. Loads of textures. I am interested to see how they look. I haven't used these techniques for a while, so good revision for me as well. Okay, unpeel that. You'll see why in a minute that I want to cut this out completely, so it's kind of a stamp more like, and I'm not really worried about the background. Right, let's see how they print first. Okay, you're going to want to do a kind of trial print to see how it goes. So inking up, I'm using water-based block printing ink, very cheap standard stuff, nothing too fancy. Lovely thin layer of ink on the plate, and you want to build up slowly and gently with this. Yeah, I would go a little more gently than you might with, say, a liner or a woodcut. Okay, it's quite hard to communicate on a video, but I'm actually kind of going over the surface of this print plate very gently, building up the ink slowly in layers. And you know, as you ink up, you're going to get a very good idea of, you know, the shapes that are going to come through. You know, I'm particularly looking at the fin shapes because, as I said, I've got this kind of double layered areas of tape there, so it's a little unpredictable, but that again is what is quite nice about the technique. Okay, paper over the top, filthy hands, sorry about that, and a bit of pressure on the back just to get it to kind of adhere, and then out with the wooden spoon to burnish and make sure all of those details have transferred nicely. Again, you can peel up, have a little sneaky peek, looks pretty good, and then good to go. So looks good. I'm not too sure about that dorsal fin on the top, so you know, as I said before, this is more just to demonstrate really. You know, I want to remove those parts now that were kind of a bit of a trial, and you know, it's as simple as getting your knife. You know, I would have washed my plate, but I thought it'd be more visible to you to see me removing parts there. You can really modify these print plates, which is, you know, a great advantage to them. So just peeling off those parts that I added in at the start to reveal just the simple kind of silhouette, if you like, of the dorsal fin plus the spines. Hopefully they'll have a bit more clarity now, and there you go. Probably prefer that, and I'm glad I've made that modification. Okay, right, next one. Hopefully this tiny little kind of demo piece I've made for you is really going to communicate how using ripped textures offers so much scope in terms of kind of tone, texture, atmosphere, movement as well. Great for movement. So again, a little bit of pressure, out with the wooden spoon, and give that a good burnish, and then let's have a look. So look, if you compare the two, you see just how much variety in texture, detail, flow, movement you can get. Alright, just to wrap up the video, I wanted to add a little bit in at the end. Another kind of big endorsement for this technique is the versatility of it. Now, these little lightweight print plates are so good for using in conjunction with mixed media work, as I'm demonstrating here, adding some the same printed plate I've used to demo in this video, using along with a kind of gel plate printed collage mixed media background. Okay, hope that is helpful, gives you some more ideas. Okay, there you go. Hope that added a few more possibilities in for things you could try, adapt for your own techniques and style of working. You could add it into stuff that I've already covered in other videos that you can find on my channel. I think in the printmaking playlist there's quite a lot of stuff there on masking tape printmaking already. Okay, remember, if you got something from the video, kind of spread the love a bit, share it round, comment below, like, subscribe, and will keep me motivated for making more videos for you. Take it easy, and I will see you soon for another video. Ta-da.